Hello and welcome back to Pseudo Gameplay TV for another video. Now today's video is going to be a little bit different. Typically I would have been doing a Pokemon Let's Play today, but that will continue next week as I had a comment that came up that I think was worth some merit and worth some more immediate attention. That comment was from a viewer of my channel that's been around for a little bit and commented on a couple of other videos. But that is this comment from CJ Hawaii Trump2020, where he asks, why don't you ever do a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 X-Men DLC prediction video? And I think that there's some real merit to doing a prediction video, especially where we have been promised or offered one more of the two remaining DLCs to be introduced this year at some point, and the next group of that DLC to come available in 2020 at some point. We don't have definite or even estimated release dates like we've had with the previous DLC or free DLC characters that were added. But I did want to touch on kind of my thoughts of what I think or what I think we should expect for the DLC. Now, it's unclear as to what order the DLCs are going to release in, but we have been told that they will be about the X-Men as well as the Fantastic Four. Now, assuming the Fantastic Four is the next DLC that comes through, as we'll see here in the character roster, I think it'd be safe to say that they take these 4 spots here down below, the Spider-Verse characters and Captain Marvel. Because it would just make more sense to group the X-Men in further over on the left-hand side where the rest of the X-Men are already kind of grouped. So if we see the Fantastic Four come through first, I feel like it's fairly safe to say that we'll have representation from Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and Thing. Though I'd love to see, where at all possible, representation from either Silver Surfer and or Doctor Doom, as those are really big characters from that canonical family as well. So I'm not holding out for those last two, as I believe it's a lot more likely that we'll see the original OG Fantastic Four crew, but I'd still like to hold out for them, as I think that they could be interesting additions to the game. Now, in regards to the X-Men that we could see popping up, if they're the group that's added in next, I wanted to throw out some of my ideas or thoughts and predictions on who those characters could be. I've narrowed it down to kind of a list of 10 characters that I see or hope that I would like to see in this game. And the first couple that I'm going to mention, though they're not really in any particular order, the first few that I would like to mention, I feel have a little bit of a heightened possibility, sheerly based on the fact that their character models are already in the game from the main story quest that we played through. The first of those characters is Juggernaut, and though I'd love to see a representation of Juggernaut in this game, I feel like he might be one of the most unlikely characters, mainly because he is very, very big. And not that that makes him unplayable or uncontrollable, but it just doesn't seem as likely for Juggernaut to show up based off of this sheer amount of size that he has and how that could kind of throw things a little bit out of balance. Though I certainly wouldn't complain if we do see Juggernaut represented here in the game. The second character, which I think is a little bit more likely, is Mystique, given that Mystique is one of the characters that we face off against when Magneto first comes around in the main story. My only concern about Mystique is her main gimmick is her shape-shifting capability, where she can transform herself into the appearance of another individual, and that I feel would be very difficult to work into a moveset effectively. And if you strip that away from her, it really kind of takes away from what you could do with the character. But I do see it as being a possibility because, again, her character model is already in the game. Now, of the character models that we already have, I feel like the most likely representative that we have, or that we will expect to come around, is Beast. Because Beast is a lot more versatile in terms of the size that we would be working with. He's on the same level as basically every other character here on the roster. as well as quite a few things that we could pull from his canon in order to integrate into a full move set for him. So I think that of the character models that we already have available to us in the game, Beast is one of, if not the highest probability that we have of actually seeing or getting representation. The next couple are ones that we have not seen, or the next 7 are ones that we have not seen in this game, but I'm sure would be really interesting to see. I'd like to have some sort of representation of Jean Grey, either just as her base form or with some of her Phoenix Force powers, which would be interesting, to say the least. I think it would add some much needed female diversity into the roster, because the roster is currently a little more male heavy. Along those same lines, I think that it would be really cool to see Domino as well, as she fits into that kind of X-Men family, though she's a little bit more of the Renegade or the X-Force specifically than running around with the X-Men in general. The next couple of characters that I'd like to see, and I think have the fairest chance of getting in of the vast roster of representatives from the X-Men series, I think there's a fair chance of us seeing Havoc, especially where we've got his brother Cyclops here present on the team. And he could have a quite interesting playstyle to consider if he does make it in. The other one that could be quite interesting to view and use would be Bishop. Bishop is one of the lesser known mutants out there, mainly because he hasn't gotten a lot of representation in popular media. He was present for a brief moment in X-Men Days of Future Past, but his energy-based abilities could bring a very unique dynamic to the game and the playstyle, especially with the classes of enemies that we already have, and that's providing that we don't get additional or side story quests instead of bonus missions. Bishop can just have a very interesting playstyle to be used here in the game. Now, the last 3, though I did say that these are not in any particular order, these are the 3 that I think I would like to see more than some of the rest of them. The first of which is another female representative. She's actually one of my favorite X-Men characters as a whole, and that would be Rogue. I feel like Rogue would be a very interesting character to bring in, especially where she has her essence absorption. I would really love to see how that type of a playstyle would be integrated in against these types of enemies, whether or not it's siphoning off health to gain some of that back, or if it's removing some of the stamina bar or the blocking stagger from the characters that you're fighting to restore some of your own MP. Just those type of mechanics would be really interesting to see. The second character in my top 3 that I'd really like to see is Gambit. Gambit's always been really interesting as well, just with his ability to kinetically charge anything that he uses or has at his vicinity and turn it into a concussive type blast attack. I think he could be really, really cool if he were to be added into the game. And the final character who, I mean, he's just one of the OG characters from the X-Men line, and would be absolutely amazing to have in this game and have utility of, especially with the duality of the Human Torch coming at some point later, would be Iceman, as he would have a very unique addition to the game here, especially where we really don't have anybody with that cold type dynamic. I mean, we do have Crystal, who has some elements of that to her moveset, and Storm as well, but to have somebody who has a complete moveset and toolkit built around that ice type ability would be really, really cool. So those are just kind of my thoughts on some of the characters that I would like to see in either of the DLC packs. If you have other thoughts or opinions of who you'd like to see, let me know in the comments down below. And until then, we'll keep our fingers crossed for that DLC to drop before the end of the year. Hopefully we can get some more details and information as to when that's coming. But rest assured, as soon as we do have representation from those characters, we will be doing character analysis and a breakdown of how to acquire those characters as well. But I thank you again for your time and invite you to leave your comments down below of who you'd like to see. Until then, thanks again for your time, and you have a fantastic rest of your day.